your suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football. It's a pleasure to be back on this beautiful Wednesday morning at about 39 minutes past the hour 9 a.m. Apologies for the lateness this beautiful morning. It was a long night in terms of work and other assignments that I ought to have attended to. But yeah, it's good to know that we're here. And like I often say, better late than never. And we will get on still with the conversation of football. And as we wrapped up, we almost wrapped up the international break. We know what happened. We know what teams have qualified for the World Cup. We know that others still have their journey to make in terms of playoffs and things like that. But the like saying 20 times goes, we move on regardless. So we are here to move on to the latest that there is from the world of football, in that regard. So this morning we'll be talking about the controversy that is surrounded referee Michael Oliver in the wake of his appointment to officiate the North London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspurs. I do not want to be a conspiracy theorist, but there are things that we'll be speaking about in the course of this broadcast that will let you decide whether you think there is salt to whatever it is we have to put across, or it's just a football talk, that it does not deserve the attention it's getting. I will let you decide on that regard, But otherwise, it's something we cannot ignore. It's something that I thought has raised enough conversation online for us to pick up on. But not just that, but also the timing. The timing. We know what's happened prior to this. We know why it even raises questions in the first place. So I don't have our audio system, make sure everything that's checked out. Please bear with me if our internet does betray us. I'm already experiencing some technical glitches this morning in as far as that internet is concerned. I pray that we can carry on smoothly without any glitch. But yeah, I'm already experiencing shortages in regards to my loading feed. So in case anything happens, please do bear with me on that one and stick around. Yesterday we had a glitch. And on that very note, I wish to say thank you to all our new subscribers. Welcome to the Football Tribe BJ community. I wish to say thank you to our usual suspects. Those so much LFC. I hope you're recovering well. I understand yes, LFC oftentimes joins us from Ireland. Thank you so much, Pedri. Pedri is excited about the return with Barcelona off with Athletic Bilbao. They return to the redone or refurbished or rebuilt Spotify Camp Nou. So there's that as well. And then of course, thank you so much, Team India, for the continued love and support. I do not take that for granted. It's really, really, really relieving to say the least that you continue to join us every single day and share with us your thoughts on football and help expound. Or, as I said, I don't know, should we use other means? Because it's looking bad. It's looking too bad already. Thinking, should we change now? And I do not know, because an alternative solution should this line be, but we'll stick with it for now. So why Michael Oliver's appointment to officiate the Arsenal Spurs game has raised so much dust. Now, the story dates too far back in January 2025 when Michael Oliver took charge of the Arsenal Wolverhampton Wanderers game, and he issued a dubious red card to Maz Luskeli. So when he does that, or when he issues that red card, of course, he issued that red card in the first half. Arsenal managed to grind it out, winning that game by a goal to nil, a goal scored by eventually Ricardo Calafiori in that game. And there was a lot of talk and personal attacks on the person of Mike Oliver. And we do not condone those kinds of attacks. But also, we understand the point of frustration from which they were emanating. And mind you, by January time, Arsenal are still well within the title race. They're still trying to pursue the Premier League title. So anything that was done to contravene or to sort of imply that their pursuit of glory was being hampered, was bound to raise dust as much dust as it did raise in the work of Michael happening so often. I'm going to have to switch speed. So please bear with me. It looks like our feed is being interrupted, constantly interrupted, constantly interrupted. So bear with me on this one. Let's have a change of yes, we've completed the switch for that feed, and I'm hoping that maybe the situation will be better in that regard. But like I was saying, so he officiated the game between Arsenal and Wolverhampton Wanderers, issued a dubious red card to Miles Lewis Kelly, which caused a lot of controversy online. Lucky for him, Arsenal found a way to win that game. Had they not won that game, I do suspect that even the stick that he would have received in the wake of that or of that result would have been even much, much worse or much, much higher than he did eventually get. Now, again, was it deserved? Like in any other role, everyday work, when you do something that is found unworthy, that is found unworthy, you're bound to get that kind of stick. You're bound to get that kind of stick. As somebody is asking, are you unemployed? No, I'm not unemployed. This is part of my employment, in case you're wondering. It's part of my work. So, in case you're wondering. But thank you for asking that question, really. Thank you for asking the question. I understand your point of concern. But we do this every single morning, Monday to Saturday. Monday to Friday, it's at 9 a.m. East African time. And, of course, over the weekends on Saturdays, we tend to come at around 11 a.m. But thank you for asking. Do you watch cricket? Not really. I do appreciate cricket as a game. I do acknowledge that it's the most popular game there is in India, in Pakistan, and some of the neighboring countries, Bangladesh, West Indies, Sri Lanka, and things like that. I do appreciate it for that fact, but I do not watch cricket. So in case you are to employ me to talk about cricket, I'm sorry, I will disappoint you. It's not my cup of tea, that I must acknowledge. That's Ansh Mishra. Ash Mishra asking, where are you from? I'm from Kampala, Uganda, and my name is Robert Kesakos. I do come to you live from Kampala, and it's 49 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m., in case you're wondering. But thank you so much for being part of this morning's podcast. Kindly consider subscribing to the channel as well as liking this particular broadcast, to help us continue growing on that channel. So, back to the gist of the conversation that it is of this beautiful morning regarding the appointment of Michael Oliver's, Michael Oliver to take charge of is your long? What do you mean is your long? Perhaps I will respond to that a bit later. So, he got so much stick for that decision against Wolverhampton Wanderers that the FA had to issue a statement in his defense when it regarded to personal attacks. The threats geared towards him and possibly by extension to his family. The FA had to issue, sorry, the PGMO, that's the body that leads the Premier League referees, at the helm of it being Howard Webb, issued a statement in his protection and to say some incidents were to be investigated in the wake of that. But now, it wasn't the first time that Michael Oliver was being at the end of controversy in an Arsenal game. On 2 consecutive times, while officiating games between Arsenal and Manchester City, he had drawn suspicious decisions. Particularly last season, in around late September, I think it was September 22nd, when Arsenal shared the Spurs in a 2-all draw between Manchester City and themselves at the Etihad Stadium, he issued a red card to Leandro Trossard in that game. Now, the cause for that red card was the attempt, particularly the second caution, was the attempt to delay a restart or deemed to be so, or deemed to be as such. How did it come about? A Manchester City foul player, in this particular case, Bernardo Silva, is deemed to have been fouled at a certain point in the game. And within that very moment, it's Leandro Trossard still in possession and in control of the ball, which he then kicks, attempting to make a pass. Now, whereas that pass in itself could be subjective, he was already in motion. I think that is without question. So he goes on to issue him, because he was already on caution, he goes on to issue a second yellow card, and it's a red card. Now, in that very season, I think Arsenal got 2 red cards for attempting to delay a restart. The first being against Declan Rice in Arsenal's 1-all draw against Brighton and Hove Albion at the Emirates Stadium. So it became as though Arsenal were the only team at the receiving end of red cards for attempting to delay restarts. Again, the question for Declan Rice in the Brighton game, it was for me never a red card. Why? First of all, the ball was not in position to be quickly restarted. It was still a rolling ball. 2, he does not put the ball away. He knocks it literally back in the direction of the player. I think it was Van Hecke or somebody. And then there's no Brighton player up front with whom they would have attempted the quick restart. In and around that area, you have a couple of Arsenal players close by. So that means you could not begin a short play because possibly they would have intercepted play or quickly won the ball back. But again, the players issued a red card and Arsenal reduced to 10 men. Fast forward, we get to the Man City game, something happens, Now, the challenge with that is that it was against Manchester City. And the topic is less about who the opponent it was against than that it was a wrong decision, at least in my opinion. But because it was against Manchester City, it raised more eyebrows. Again, because we had seen similar incidents before where Manchester City could have gotten a red card in a game against Arsenal, particularly Mateo Kovacic being suspect for his tackles on Martin Odegaard, and he did not get that red card. Who was in charge? Michael Oliver. That was for the 2023-2024 campaign. That's when that incident happened. So when I say that this is beyond suspicion, this is beyond conspiracy theories, like I said, all the dust that is being raised by Arsenal fans online in the wake of the appointment of Michael Oliver after a period of 10 months without him being in charge directly of an Arsenal game is suspicious, to say the least. Now, given the small pool of referees that there is within the Premier League, it was bound to happen that Michael Oliver would get appointed to officiate Arsenal games. You can never keep away a referee from officiating these games. And nor is it my argument that that should be the case. However, the timing of it is suspicious in the sense that it does the PGMO no favors. I do not know if the PGMO are seeking to be in the news for the wrong reasons or are trying to test their own resolve or trying to test a particular theory about their own referee when it comes to officiating Arsenal games. I do not know with absolute certainty. But there's something to think about in this particular case. And in this particular point in time, it's to see, for me, whether Michael Oliver is going to continue with the consistency of his bad decisions when officiating Arsenal games, or he's looked himself in the mirror and he looks to do better. Again, if we are to go through the direction of conspiracy theories, there's plenty of those that we can come up with. But we do not want to bastardize the debates with those. We want to stick to the facts, not the hearsays, not the insinuations, not what could be, but like I said, something is suspect. Now, let's look at the nature of the game itself. By its own nature, the North London Derby is always a fast game. It's always the case of a matchbox being close to gasoline, that a simple spark could cause a fire. It's a live wire. You touch it, you're going to get electrocuted. That's the nature of the North London Derby. It's fierce, it's fast, it's filled with emotions, and the game can easily and quickly so much get out of hand for a referee if they're not cautious, if they're not cool-headed. Things can get out of hand quickly. One, in this particular upcoming game, expect it to be a very, very physical tussle for both sides. Expect clippings, tackles, pushing and shoving, so many things. Call it unsporting, it will be part of a derby. Many of you have seen fierce derbies, and away from English football, some of the most fierce derbies are within our own continent, in the African continent, when Yanga are playing Simba in the Tanzanian Premier League, when Kaizer Chiefs face off with Orlando Pirates, I think in the Soweto Derby, in the South African League. When you go to South America, you have the Boca Juniors of this world, when they come up against their opponents, and everything that comes with the Copa Libertadores. You have all that. When you go to the Italian Serie A, the Roma Derby between AC Roma and Lazio is one of those games. When you go to the Inter Milan and AC Milan games in the Milan Derby, when you return to the Premier League, when Sunderland take on Aston Villa in the Midlands Derby, Everton against Liverpool in the Merseyside Derby, Liverpool versus Manchester United in the industrial-backed kind of revolution derby. It's a rivalry. Tempers are bound to get high. Emotions get the better of people, not just players, but sometimes managers are involved. We've seen this. You remember the pushing and shoving that did happen between Arsene Wenger and Jose Mourinho when Chelsea were up against Arsenal. You remember in Jose Mourinho's second homecoming, Why? It's a derby. Things are bound to get out of hand. Tempers are bound to flare up. So, with that in mind, the idea that PGMO sat and decided that a referee who has been at the end of many wrong decisions against a particular team, or decisions that have raised questions over his professionalism in handling not the game as a whole, But in handling a particular team or in presiding over games of a particular team is suspect, in my opinion. Like I said, it's either they are testing their own theory to see the lightheadedness of Michael Oliver, or they are trying to prove a point which may not work to their favor. So, again, let's look at some of the other decisions that he's been involved in. And to further emphasize on this, there's a game that Arsenal played against Wolverhampton Wanderers. I do not remember particularly when, but Michael Oliver did something we had never seen before. He issued 2 yellow cards in the same instance to a single player. Now, it's not that it's never been seen before in the context of the issuance of 2 yellow cards that lead up to a red card in quick succession. We've seen it when a player has been booked and then they blabber to the referee and they're sent off. We've seen those things. But what happens here is that the game is in play. Gabriel Martinelli commits a foul on a Wolves player. The referee sees that, but because Wolves are still in possession of the ball, he weighs that for just carry on. You have the advantage. We'll revisit that moment later. Now, as Wolves carry on, Gabriel Martinelli commits another foul. Now, either fouls, you could argue, are worthy of a yellow card. But also, there's such a thing as caution, common sense. Now, when it comes to caution, that's at the liberty of the referee. They have their free rein in that regard to exercise the caution. And the thing about referees, at least that I would want to believe in my opinion, it's not just about the execution of the rules of the game. It's also an opportunity for referees to teach these players about the rules of the game. Not that they should sit them down like they do not know the rules, but in a reminding way. And we see referees do this over the game. That, look here, mate, you know that's a foul. You do this next time, you're getting booked. Sometimes they summon the team captain and talk to the team captain and tell them, look, your players are beginning to behave in this kind of way. I do not like it. They'll get booked. Every time I make a decision, they are surrounding me. They're blowing up their mouths. I do not like it. It's not like the captain doesn't know those rules. It's not like the players do not know those rules, But the referee has that duty in the game. He is the presiding officer of the game. He is in charge. So, some moments are cautionary moments, others are teachable moments. Now, so when you have that in mind, to go back to the Gabriel Martinelli incident, is that, yes, 1 yellow card, well and good. The second foul, that's when we get the caution to say, look here, you committed a foul there and there. So it's a yellow card. But the next time you commit another foul, mate, you're getting sent off. At least that's what we thought that a sane referee or a referee in their right mind should have done in that particular incident. But all he did was yellow card for that incident and a yellow card for this incident. All that happened in a space of about 10, 15 seconds, and then off he was sent off. That was Gabriel Martinelli, and off he went. So that decision in itself was quite suspect. Now, so those are 2 bad decisions against the same team, Wolverhampton Wanderers. You go to the Man City game, there have been 2, at least in recent memory, 2 decisions that have been suspicious. One, a red card to an Arsenal mate, and another to another, a card that had been given but was not given to Mateo Kovacic, And then also, it's not really about just Arsenal. We go back to particularly, I think, last season but one. Jeremy Doku with a very high tackle on Alexis McAllister in the penalty area. The boot is as high as his rib cage. But guess what? Michael Oliver does not issue a penalty. Surprisingly, VR reviewed that and deemed that it's not a clear and obvious error by the referee. And the decision is passed that the on-field decision should stand of not giving a penalty. Guess what the justification was from the head of the PGM, from the PGMOL. The referee did not want to have a negative impact on the game, did not want to ruin the game. Well, he ruined the result for Liverpool. Now, one would think that, well, it's only Arsenal fans are concerned and what, no. The last person an Arsenal fan would expect or would even hope to hear their view about this would be a Tottenham Hotspur fan. In any case, perhaps Tottenham Hotspur fans would be celebrating already to say, yeah, we got this one good because he doesn't really handle them well. He gives them the stick, so it's going to work to our advantage. We're going to be at home. But even Tottenham Hotspur fans are suspicious. Matij Christine says, Dan, subscribe, sir. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Where are you joining us from at this beautiful morning? Good to have you on the broadcast. Kindly also like the broadcast. So, as we proceed, so I say, Jamie O'Hara, a broadcaster, works with TalkSport and appears on all other media platforms. He was speaking about this, and he himself was surprised that that a referee in Michael Oliver has been given the opportunity to handle this game. To handle this game. And perhaps the choice of his words could have been better. But he argues, and without getting it wrong, that he's gotten too many decisions wrong. And not just wrong across the Premier League, but in the wake of Arsenal games. That he said, is his head a little bit scrambled when he's officiating Arsenal? So, because of the controversial decisions that he's committed, time and again, against in Arsenal games, it's bound to be suspect, And like I said, perhaps the choice of, Jamie O'Hara's words could have been better, but I think they are spot on. It depends on the way you're looking at them or the way you interpret them. But the mere fact that a Tottenham Hotspur fan in Jamie O'Hara is equally wondering why Michael Oliver is getting this game really is the tip of the iceberg. Is everything that you need to know, So we have seen that time and time again. To make matters worse, Stuart Atwell will be on VAR duty. Now, Stuart Atwell himself has been at the end of controversy in Arsenal games. Again, you see, some rival fans may take heed to this and say, look, Arsenal fans are just mourning about this. But you see, the beauty about bad decisions in the Premier League is that they are okay for as long as they're not happening to your team until they come to your doorstep and then suddenly you're mourning about them. Last season, Liverpool fans were giving Arsenal fans stick for mourning about referees' decisions. This season, in the aftermath of that 3-0 at Manchester City, they were on the opposite sides of that table because of Virgil van Dijk's cancelled goal. So really, if you're objective enough, I'm sure you can sit down and say, these guys have a point. These guys have a point. So Michael Oliver is going to be on a huge test, and so will be Stuart Atwell, because nothing they will do in the bad direction, in any case, if geared towards Arsenal, will surprise the footballing world. It would rather cement the dust on their reputation or soil their reputation that is already soiled in the eyes of some of these fans. Now, let's go back to what the data shows in the work of Michael Oliver. He's officiated, I do not know how many games. Last I checked, it had been 50 games or 55 games for Arsenal and issued 5 red cards. But here's the new context of things. In the many games he's officiated Arsenal, he's issued the most yellow cards to Arsenal players, as many as 97. While at it, he's issued 8 red cards, more than he's issued, 3 more than he's issued to any other team. Because the teams second to that are Everton and Tottenham Hotspurs, who he's issued 5 red cards, released while issuing 90 yellow cards to Everton and 81 yellow cards to Tottenham Hotspurs. In between those is Liverpool and Manchester United, for whom he's issued 83 and 82 yellow cards respectively, and 1 and 3 red cards respectively. In other words, 3 red cards to Man United and 1 to Liverpool. Not alarming figures, really. Leicester City, 52 yellow cards, 4 red cards. Chelsea, 68 yellow cards, 2 red cards. Manchester City, 68 yellow cards and 0 red cards. Out of all these sampled 10 teams, there's only one team that he's never issued a red card against. And the point I'm trying to drive here is not that it's not a must or it's not a guarantee that somehow you should find a way to issue a red card to this Manchester City side. You do not get a red card if you do not deserve it. It's that simple. The application of the rules. If you do deserve one, then get one. I've given you one particular incident of Mateo Kovacic's reckless injuries or challenges or tackles on Martin Odegaard in the 2023-2024 campaign. When you had those, and he still did what? He still did not issue a red card in that particular game. That in itself was suspicious. That in itself was suspicious or drew suspicion in the context of that game. So here we are again with the referee that is being given another game to handle. Like I said, the game in itself is a bit of a live wire. Anything can happen at any one point. It can quickly get out of hand for him, for those players, because it's a derby. It's the nature of the derby. That's how they go down. They're feist, they're fierce, you know. So let's see. There's a photo. I do not know what level of authenticity it carries of Michael Oliver wearing a Newcastle kit. Now, one would wonder, what does Newcastle have to do with anything? There's this suspicion again, and usually it's brought when bad decisions happen, particularly not to the tune of a particular team, where fans come out to say, but this referee is from this region, where this other team comes from, and they try to draw correlations in between. So, for example, if let's say Arsenal were to be leading the table, and then the referee from London gives a decision to their advantage against a team that is also pursuing a Premier League title from Merseyside, Liverpool in question, or a team from Manchester, Man City or Man United, then that decision is bound to be suspicious. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's only normal that they are going to look at the referee as a homeboy to the London team in this case. And if the case were to be vice versa, it will still be this issue, you know. Now, the thing about bad refereeing decisions, which happen very many of them in the Premier League, and again, we've raised our concerns on this on numerous occasions because it's happened on so many weekends that we've come out of a game and the conversation was about the poor referees' decisions rather than the actual game that got played on the pitch. When you go back to that 2-2 draw between Manchester City and Arsenal, when Manchester City scored the equalizer, Brad Erling Haaland picks up the ball and throws it into the back of Gabriel Magalhaes' head. You know, apologies, our internet is off, but do not worry, we'll continue. Now, he throws that ball into the back of Gabriel Magalhaes' head. It's meant for banter, but it's intentional. Very unsporting of him. This is not a celebration in second. No yellow card, no nothing to Brad Erling Haaland. So, that in itself is cause for suspicion. Is cause for suspicion. So, a lot of this when you go back to December 2023, in the game between Liverpool and Man United, somebody said, and I quote, "Sometimes referees think they are too important." And I responded to that by saying, someone had to tell them off, but clearly it had to be Michael Oliver again. He had been in charge of that game. And for a referee that over the years had positioned himself as one of the best that there is in the Premier League, he's done too many poor decisions to qualify for that. When with the likes of Mark Clattenburg, Howard Webb, Mike Dean stepped down from the game. Of course, they were not without their controversial decisions. Howard Webb is predominantly remembered for his decisions in favor of Man United, whether intentionally or unintentionally or otherwise. But in this modern day game where you even have video assistant referee where decisions get scrutinized, you still have referees making so many wrong decisions. Now, away from those Mike Deans, Howard Webbs, and Clattenburgs, fast forward, you had two referees whose heads were rising out of the ground like a germinating seedling. In one, Michael Oliver and Anthony Taylor, to say, look here, we are one of the best you're going to get in the game in as far as Premier League football is concerned when it comes to officiating it. But today, they've made so many wrong decisions that I wouldn't put Michael Oliver in the top 5 of the Premier League. And my issue is that Premier League referees, for me, have always been average. But out of that averageness, at best, if you had to name your top 5, I do not think Michael Oliver makes it. Anthony Taylor could still be, possibly even still at the summit of them, even though he's without his controversy. Particularly Chelsea fans will take heat on him. But that's there. Again, go to UEFA competitions, go to the World Cup, go to FIFA competitions, and see how many referees make it to the top. That should be evidence enough to tell you how low they are thought of. You know, it's been what, more than 40 minutes of doing this. I do not know why my display feed is showing me 9 minutes. You know, I do not know why, but actually it's showing 11 minutes. Anyways, the decision for Pitchmore isn't just wrong, but it's all bad timing. In a London derby against Tottenham Hotspurs, when subsequent to it is a Chelsea game, like I said, because the referee has a small pool of referees, he was bound to rotate around and come around. And I wouldn't have thought that it would have taken even as many as 10 months in the first place for him to be handed another Arsenal game. But given that the Pitchmore had given themselves that amount of time to settle the dust down for what had happened against Wolverhampton Wanderers, his return in a Tottenham game is not the ideal solution. Perhaps in 2 weeks' time against Brentford at the Emirates Stadium, that would have been okay. Maybe, I'm just saying, maybe that would have been okay. But this is not the game for it. Again, I want to be proved wrong to see how he does perform. To see how he does perform in that London derby. But like I said, the microscopic eye of fans and certain sections of the media are going to be on him to see how he handles that game. Do let me know what your thoughts are on that decision. But we will not take it any further beyond that for today's conversation. So thank you so much, every single one of you that has been part of this morning broadcast. Thank you so much to our new subscribers. Welcome to the Football Tribe UG community. We say, do enjoy your stay with us. Continue to like our broadcasts, continue to like our videos, and continue supporting what we do. Otherwise, thank you so much. Have yourselves a blessed day. It's been always a pleasure. See you tonight for more in regards to the latest from the world of football. But before we sign out, I think it would be unworthy if we sign out without leaving you with the results from last night in as far as UEFA's World Cup qualifiers go, because games were played and we do have the results in. Belgium were running riot against Liechtenstein. You know, that was there. At the time we ended our broadcast, Spain and Turkey was at 2-2, and it ended that way. Well, Bulgaria beat up against Georgia in the other game of Group E. In Group C, Belarus and Greece shared the spoils in a goalless draw, while Scotland beat up against Denmark by 4-2. And out of that, you had, anyways, we'll see. Group C, you had Scotland advance or qualified for the World Cup directly. Then in the other games, you had Switzerland share the spoils with Kosovo in a 1-1 draw, as did Sweden and Slovenia. They shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw. So that was there as well. Then Romania put 7 past San Marino, while Austria and Bosnia-Herzegovina shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw. Wales put 7 past North Macedonia in a 7-1 victory. So those were the results from yesterday. But just to let you know, Germany have qualified directly. Switzerland, Scotland, France, Spain, Portugal, Netherlands, Austria, Norway, Belgium, England, and Croatia. Those have qualified straight away directly. Now remember, the UK, Europe has 16 slots for the World Cup. Initially, they had 13 in the 32 format of the World Cup, and now they do have as many as 16 in the 48 team format. So that's it for me. Stay blessed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye for now.